Hello, it's Karen, the Weekend Craftaholic. Thanks for joining me for weekend block 9 of Moda Blockheads 6. You can see here that I am using my iPad as always just to follow along with this pattern, and I'm pleased to say the last few blocks that I've done I've not needed to refer to any videos. I'm getting used to the instructions, so really pleased about that. I'm making notes as I go on my iPad as well. This is just saved in GoodNotes so that I can edit this as I go. Now this is the first time I've done foundation paper piecing, so I was a little bit nervous. I've got to say I'm a huge fan. I've loved watching people use foundation paper piecing. I've never been able to really kind of get the concept of how it works. So this is great that it's just 2 folds, but I'm so tempted now just to try another one. But this is where I've got to keep myself in check. I know my ADHD just wants to experience lots of new things, but I've got to be conscious not to run before I can walk, and to take things slowly. So I am pleased to see that there's only kind of 2 joins or splits or stitches in this one, so it's not too complicated. I'm sure if it got to a little bit more complicated I would get completely lost. What I would say, I did get lost on part of this. So after this bit, when we sew the first stitch between the blocks 1 and 2, it says to trim it, and I just could not figure out where to trim it, and I was so afraid that if I trimmed it would be in the wrong place, so I did leave it. And in the end, when I did cut it, it was fine, it worked out. So I'm not sure why it asks you to trim again. There's obviously a reason for it. Maybe it's to get rid of the bulk, I don't know. But for the rest of these that I did just leave the trimming of that first part on the right hand side. This is the bit where I'm just like so confused and lost, thinking if I trim this now I'm going to end up losing a little bit, because you can see it's only just on that paper edge as it is. But I really enjoyed this. I'm showing you the first one on camera, and then I do keep the camera rolling, but I've edited out when I do the other 3 just to speed up the video. But that again, that methodical practice of doing them over and over really does help cement some of the learnings with it. So really enjoy doing these. And as I'm recording this voiceover now, it does remind me that definitely this is a reason why I shouldn't run before I can walk, because as I'm stitching this I realised part of that yellow fabric isn't completely covering the paper template. So you'll see me here get out the seam ripper, and oh lord, because you reduce the stitch length as well, I reduced it just to 1. It was so hard to get that seam ripper and tidy this up. So again, I need to slow down. But that was in a hiccup that I had. And again, the only way I learn is by making mistakes. So it's good that it happened early doors and not after, for example, I'd done the full 4 of them and it was just the first one that I'd done. So this is the part where I do actually start to do the trimming, and this is where I'm a bit worried and wondering what the impact would be, the fact that I didn't do the trimming on when that second piece was added. But they just come out so good, don't they? I am definitely a big fan of this. And I don't know why we don't do it more often, to be honest. And speaking of, when you see me come to do that centrepiece, the centrepiece looks a mess, I'll be honest. So part of me was wishing that they also did the foundation paper piecing for that centrepiece, because that would have, I don't know, maybe it's because of the style of it and that kind of cross shape, maybe you're just not able to, I don't know the mathematics involved in creating these, but I think that would have definitely helped. Now I have to say, when I read the instructions of this, I honestly did not think this would be the bit that would come out looking the worst, because we've done these a few times, right? And I do like to do these squares within a square. All I can think of is what I've done this time with my cutting. So the only thing I've done different is when I've done the cutting of these pieces, I've actually done them a little bit bigger than it was suggested, because I wasn't having enough space to trim back. So I'm wondering if that's part of the problem, the reason it looks so messy. So I think I've not cut any future blocks yet, so I think I'm going to stick to cutting it as accurately as I can. I know I've seen people on the Facebook page say just give yourself a little bit more space to play around with, and which makes a lot of sense to me, but that's all I can think of. So if you've got any ideas, I'd love you to let me know in the comments below, because I think the centre of this just kind of lets it down really now. I do like the ends of them. Now, ripping apart this paper, because obviously first time I've done it, I was so nervous that I was going to unpick my stitching, because yet again I didn't follow the instructions to the letter, but it did say to backstitch at the beginning and the start of each of these rows. if I'd have maybe ripped the paper off after the first one, it said leave them on for now, maybe that I would have realised when I did the following three. But again, you live and learn. If you saw my video yesterday, you'll see that the previous block was the first time I've actually sewed this up in this way as well. I saw someone on a YouTube binge that I watched, when they were putting these rows together, they kind of left it all in the machine with the chain stitching for each of the rows, and then even when all the rows were connected, to connect the rows themselves together. So that saved a bit of time, and I do like to do it that way as well. Feels a bit odd not pressing in between, but that's all good. The time that you save, and also it avoids you kind of getting things mixed up and put in the wrong place, moving them around. This is my finished block. So apart from the right hand side, and I think that's because I'd left too much fabric, you can see it looks like it needs to be lifted up slightly. I'm okay with this block. I think it came out okay. Not as good as I expected it to do, because it did look a bit more simpler, and it looked like I was able to do it better. But anyway, I still really enjoyed it. Learned a lot from it, which is the main thing. And if you are quilting this weekend, I hope you have a great crafting weekend. Thanks for watching.